It all began on a quiet morning when Karen, the infamous HOA enforcer, decided to target my grandfather. She had somehow convinced herself that she had the authority to evict him from his property, citing obscure HOA rules and vague community concerns. Karen approached with her clipboard, full of determination and that characteristic air of self-righteousness, convinced that she could force compliance. My grandfather, a stubborn and resilient man, refused to be intimidated. He had lived on the land for decades, raising pigs, tending the gardens, and maintaining every corner of his property with care. Karen, however, seemed oblivious to the fact that his rights, and mine by extension, were firmly protected by law. Her audacity was astounding. As she began to explain the alleged violations, I observed quietly from the porch, taking notes and ensuring every word was recorded. Karen had clearly underestimated not only my grandfather's legal standing but also the connections and preparation I had at my disposal. She believed she could intimidate an elderly man into leaving his home, but she had misjudged both his resilience and my strategic planning. When Karen attempted to hand him notices of eviction, my grandfather stood his ground, refusing to accept them. I stepped forward, calm but authoritative. "Karen," I said evenly, "any attempt to evict my grandfather from his property without legal grounds is illegal. Your notices have no authority here, and any further action will be documented and reported." Her face went pale, realizing she had underestimated the situation. Karen, in her usual fashion, attempted to escalate by calling the HOA and local authorities. But I had anticipated this move as well. I provided the authorities with a complete record of property ownership, historical occupancy, and evidence of Karen's repeated overreach. The authorities quickly recognized that her actions were not only baseless but constituted harassment and unlawful interference with property rights. The real turning point came when Karen tried to intimidate my grandfather directly. He calmly gestured to the pigs in the yard, large, formidable animals who had long been trained to respond to unusual intrusions on the property. Karen froze as the pigs advanced slightly, not aggressively, but with enough presence to convey that this property was defended, both legally and naturally. The combination of law, preparation, and instinctive deterrence left her visibly shaken. By the time the authorities arrived, Karen's panic was evident. Her claims were dismissed, and she was formally warned about trespassing, harassment, and interference. The HOA, seeing her repeated pattern of overreach, issued a formal reprimand and restricted her authority, making it clear that any future attempts to intimidate residents would result in removal or legal action. Neighbors who had witnessed the incident whispered about Karen's audacity and her spectacular failure. She had attempted to evict my grandfather, a man with undeniable legal rights and a formidable presence on the property, only to find herself humiliated and powerless. Meanwhile, my grandfather remained calm, secure, and entirely in control of his land. From my vantage point on the porch, watching Karen retreat, flustered and defeated, I reflected on the sequence of events. She had believed she could assert authority, intimidate, and enforce compliance without consequence. Instead, she had collided with preparation, legality, natural deterrence, and the calm authority of the property owner. The lesson was permanent and clear. Arrogance, ignorance, and overreach cannot overcome knowledge, preparation, and strategic authority. Karen had tried to evict my grandfather, but in doing so, she had ensured her own embarrassment and public humiliation while the property, the family, and the pigs remained fully intact and in control. By the end of the day, my grandfather was free to continue his daily routines, and Karen had learned, once again, that audacity without understanding is a dangerous and often humiliating game.